All right. Thank you everyone for joining. As you know, this whole virus thing has everyone up in arms, so including me actually. So thank you for joining remotely. I'm excited to walk you through a whole lot of detail on how to set up Jenkins X and GKE. So I want to make sure we're set up properly here. So I'm just testing a couple of things out here. I want to make sure I can look at the chat and communicate with you. So this is in fact the first time I'm streaming, so forgive me if things aren't up to par, but it seems like we've got it going, right? I've got the chat here, Josh, Ravi, Chris, and I've got a couple of colleagues there on site at scale. And we're gonna get started. So let me share my screen and hopefully you can hear me. If you can hear me, anyone just on the chat, just type yes or something. That way I know that my microphone is good to go. Anyone? All right. Should I assume you can hear me? All right, awesome. So you can hear me. All right, let's get started. So, awesome. All right, thank you for that. So I'm going to share my screen here. And let's go over Jenkins X. I want to give you an introduction about what Jenkins X is briefly, but then we're going to do a lot of hands-on work, so be prepared for that. And then of course we can answer questions. If you get into trouble, use the chat and we'll go from there. This is very much casual, so do expect to we'll run into some issues. I'll help you out and we'll go from there. Okay, so excellent. So Jenkins X, I created this presentation a couple of days ago. Yeah, Jenkins X and Kubernetes to me is just magic, right? Let's go over why. So first I wanted to introduce myself. A little bit about me. I am a developer advocate for Jenkins X, which is the open source project. I published a couple of books, one of them being in the DevOps world or realm, and is managing Microsoft related technologies using open source tools like Terraform and Packer and all that good stuff. I love cars, especially exotic cars. I'm grateful to own the California plate Jenkins X. I love it. And I'm also a big time skier. I wish I could quit my job and just ski year round. So let's talk about Jenkins X and what it is and what it isn't, and then we'll jump into the hands-on labs, okay? So what is Jenkins X? Many people think it's this guy here, but it isn't. And what it really is that the Jenkins X project is based on completely new code base. It is nothing of the previous code has been ported. In fact, there are two very different projects, so no need to port anything. And Jenkins X is actually Kubernetes native, and it is only helping you build modern Kubernetes native apps, right? That's the difference between Jenkins and Jenkins X, aside from their architecture, which is extremely different, and I'll show you why. So I like to think of Jenkins as the spiritual counterpart for cloud native world of Jenkins. So, they each have their strengths, but they're different. But Jenkins X is really an opinionated Kubernetes native CI/CD platform, which contains a glue of a whole bunch of open source technologies like Helm, Scaffold, Chart Museum, which we will see later, a whole bunch of other things, right? So the architecture doesn't even compare, really. So just keep that in mind. Whatever you knew about Jenkins X, take out that word Jenkins, you're basically talking about a whole different product called X. And Jenkins X runs on the 3 leading clouds, Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. I'm going to be quite honest with you. Google Cloud is our first targeted cloud. This is why I wanted to do the labs with this Google Cloud scenario. AWS actually is working quite nicely now. We have what we call a stable version of the open source Jenkins X, which allows you to do more controlled upgrades of Jenkins X and whatnot in an enterprise environment. I'll talk about that later. No need to do that now, but just know that we have that in case you've been experiencing issues with the open source Jenkins X and setting it up and whatnot. And guess what? Well, this is what I'm most proud of, and might be the greatest thing that the distinction between Jenkins and Jenkins X is that Jenkins X does not have static masters running pipelines. Yeah, that's right. It has Tecton. Tecton being at the heart of the pipeline engine, and it's actually a Google project. So we're collaborating with them. This is how we are executing pipelines for you when you declare them via YAML, right? And we're actually going to declare a pipeline today, so get excited about that. And just to give you a quick little visual on what that looks like. Now, again, I did this presentation a couple of days ago, so you might see that the image is all skewed and whatnot, but essentially I'm trying to tell you that at the very top here, we have the Jenkins-X.YAML file, which you as the end user define. And then at the bottom, unknown to you, at least for a while, is that we automatically translate a stage into a task in Tecton and whatnot, right? So there's a direct translation going on. You just are not privy to it. We do that for you. The whole point is to abstract you from the complexity of Tecton. To define a pipeline in Tecton, I have to tell you, it takes a lot of lines of code, and that's okay. I think the team is doing a great job. It's just not quite there. A full screen. All right, I thought I had a full screen. Yeah, that's a good point, Abel. Let me know if you can see the entire thing. There is a reason why I have it that size, because I'm going to have multiple windows going up. So thank you for bringing that up. Hopefully this is better for you, Abel. All right. Now, there are many features in Jenkins X, and one of those that we will go through today and actually create is preview environments. Those just give you a glimpse of what you did as a developer to make sure it works, and before you push that code into staging or production. Typically as a developer, you work with project managers, designers. They get to preview your work as well, right? You will notice to the bottom right of this slide, I included what a preview environment really is in Kubernetes. And that's a namespace, an ingress, and a pod. That's it. Your app is deployed temporarily in that, and you get to see what it looks like and how it behaves before someone can say, yes, this looks good, let's push it to staging. So this is actually quite cool. I am not done with this presentation. In fact, I have other slides that I need to finish, but given our time frame, I just kind of put something together, right? So that's kind of an overview of what Jenkins X is. And now I want to get started with our actual event today, which is continuous delivery with Jenkins X. All right. So let's jump into our agenda. Just to set your expectations, I need you to be ready to execute code on your terminal. Hopefully you saw the requirements. Give me a yes, give me a holler on the text or on the chat. Let me know that you did. I need to know who does not have a cluster at this point. That way we can address that easy and then go from there. So feel free to use that chat. Here's our agenda. We're going to create a GKE cluster. We're then going to install Jenkins X. We're then going to create a QuickStart, show you what those are all about. They're multi-language QuickStarts, Python, Node.js, Maven, Java, all that stuff. We're also going to import an existing app because guess what? Most likely you built something already and you want to put it through CI/CD, right? So we're going to do that as well. Yes, Josh, please do spin up your cluster should be running right now. Everyone, your cluster as of now should be running. If it isn't, please feel free to do that right now because we're about to get into the nitty-gritty stuff. All right, awesome. And then number 5, we're going to customize the pipeline. The scenario I'm going to show you in the pipeline, and this is a common one. You've got this application, you want to retrieve secrets from, say, Kubernetes secrets, and you want to use it in your pipeline. It's a simple scenario, yet very valuable, and I'm going to show you that today as we go through customizing your pipeline, okay? We're also going to do a pull request on the app to make changes. Once we imported your existing app, we're going to make some changes and see how that works with a PR and all that good stuff, right? All right, let's see here. Yeah, can run the first 2 right now. Excellent. Okay, Josh, you're good to go, it looks like. And, all right, perfect. Sounds good, Wei. Let me know if you run into trouble. All right, so Tony's getting into an error. Tony, that looks like a permissions issue, to be honest with you. You need to have the free tier, full administrative control on that Google account. Make sure you do that. Yeah, we'll walk through it, creating the cluster, but I'm not going to go through the details of setting up a free tier account in Google, just so you know. And then our last agenda item today is going to be showing you how to go from staging to production, right? So it's the full life cycle of an application in Jenkins X. So be ready for that. Now, realize that today we may cover everything or we may not. It depends really on how fast we go. I see some people already talking about some issues they're having. So, you know, we're going to try to help them. We're going to try to be conscientious of people's time and whatnot. But I'm here till 6 p.m. I've dedicated this time for you. So we're about to make this happen and make sure you get the best out of this. We might have, I have some socks, Jenkins X socks to give away to you. I also have some stickers, a little bit of swag to motivate you. But really for me, the benefit is that you get to know exactly how to use Jenkins X. So if you can do that today, I think we're golden, right? And oh, look, my peer Victor just joined, and it looks like he has feedback. Yeah, that's not going to happen now. I'm kind of late on that. We'll discuss that, Victor. The gist, yeah. So creating the cluster, we'll go over that. All right, so let's just get started, right? If you fire up your terminal, that's where you want to live right now for the next couple hours at least. So let's get started. First thing we want to do is we want to install the CLI. And the link, the curl command to that CLI is right there. Now, I'm gonna paste this for you on the chat because it seems to be the most appropriate thing to do. Give me a second here. All right, so that's the command you want to use to download the CLI first, right? This is actually a special stable version of the CLI and whatnot. We're going to use CJXD, which is CloudBees Jenkins X distribution. Same thing. It's the OSS. It's just we've already put it through some tests to make sure that it runs stable. That's all. Cut part of the URL. Yeah. All right, hang on a second. I'll get you the full command in a second. Give me 1 second here. All right, so we're gonna create the cluster first, or actually download the CLI. All right, so that should be the full URL. Let me know if you can see it. So once everyone has downloaded that, please just raise your hand on the chat. Just say yes, whatever, done. Once you do that, we're gonna move the bin, the binary. You want to move it to your path, so you want to say move to the user local bin. It is an artifact. It is a tar file, Josh, and it untars it. The command, as you can see, would pipe it to untar it. So you should be able to do that. If you do an ls, you should see it. Now, the other thing we can do, if you're having trouble copying the curl command, fear not. I'm going to put right here, straight from the docs, the URL that you need to download. So if you go to that website now, you will see the first thing you need to do is download that JX binary via that curl command. So all right, cool. So once everyone has downloaded that, just raise your hand. Like I said, let me know that you are good to go. Now, that's the binary for OS X. Now, I'm not sure what you're running, but if you go overall one level above in that documentation, you can see you have for Linux or Mac OS X, whatever you're running, just point it there. All right. So again, once you are done downloading it, you want to move it to your bin directory, and that's also in the instructions there. It's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to do that myself just so you can see, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is copy the, I'm on the Mac, so I'm going to copy this. In fact, I actually already have it, but I did this, which is executed that command, and then moved it to the bin. Now, if I do this and say which is the JX, it should tell me JX version. This is what you want to get ultimately as an output on your terminal, okay? So, all right, Yuri is done. Excellent, thank you. All right, Josh has got it moved over. Ravi. Right. Okay, so it looks like someone's switching to wired setup versus wireless on site. Okay, that's good. Thanks, Ravi, for letting me know. All right, cool. So we're gonna give those folks that are getting into the wire just a minute, but from the instructions at this point, you should be able to say which JX, and it will tell you where that JX is. That's a good point, Josh. Yeah. The reason I do sudo is because then you got to tell the Mac the password so it can move it into the bin directory, right? That's part of the permission. So you're right. Everyone just make sure you do that on the Mac. All right. And I think, let's see. All right. So if everyone is done, I'm just going to zoom in here on the commands. You should be good to go. Josh, let's see. It's not able to run for you. Okay, that's fine. So that's a good tip. Basically, allow it to execute, Josh. Right. If anyone else is experiencing that, just know. And of course, my colleague Victor, who's a Linux expert, just showed up with a command to change the proper rights on that thing. So as soon as we have that binary executable, we're going to move into the next step. So just holler if you've already got it done. Just like do an emoji with a hand or a thumbs up or something. Let me know. If you have issues, please also just give me some sort of signal so that we don't move without you ahead. I want to make sure you're on the same page. We'll do our best to keep you in sync. All right, so that's a good question. So Victor's asking, do we have Windows users in this workshop today? Josh. All right, Way is good to go. Way is done. Josh, I'm not sure. With that link, you shouldn't be getting that. Luke is done. Okay, thanks, Luke. So we're good to go. Now we're just waiting for potentially just Josh, but we have like 23 people in here, so I'm assuming there's more with issues. And like Victor says, if you're using Linux, make sure you use the correct curl link, because I pasted the one for Mac OS, but if you look at the left navigation on that dock side, there's one for Linux. Do not touch the qconfig yet, Josh. We're going through this step at a time. You'll get to that. Things will happen automatically for you. Just hang tight. If you have the correct curl link for your Mac, and you executed that and moved the binary to the bin, that's all we need to do at this point. Then we'll move forward. So I see a couple of people are done. All right. So while we wait for that, I'm going to go over to, we did this, right? So you move that binary. Yeah, I'm not sure what the Helm error is. You shouldn't have Helm 3 on your machine, Josh, just so you know. That's not supported now, so if you mistakenly installed it, you probably don't want to have that. And Victor just pointed that out as well. Okay, so it installed it for you. I wonder if you do Helm space -- version, what it will get you, right? So if you go Helm version, sorry. I have 2.13.1. You should have something less than 3.0, everyone. Just so you know. So Josh, just make sure it's something less than 3. And we should be good to go. It's not even in the path. Oh, you downloaded it. Rabi, we're okay. We're not too far ahead. We're just installing the binary, the JX binary. No big deal. 2.16 and then it fails. All right, Josh is having problems. I think I'm going to leave it for Victor to help him out a little bit. I want to continue with this. We move the binary into the bin. We should have an output that says the JX binary is this version. Also, just note that the kubectl version needs to be something less than 1.17. Okay, I have 1.16.0 and that works for me. Just know that if you have 1.7, it is not going to work based in my experience. So please make sure you have the kubectl that is less than that. Okay, I put this in the requirements. This should have been something that you saw, but if not, you still have time to downgrade if need be. Okay. Okay, so assuming we have the binary installed, the next big step we're going to take is to create a GKE cluster. And this is where the fun begins. I think what I need to do is make sure that everyone else, I see about 23 people in our workshop today. I would love for everyone to participate. If you're just listening in, that's fine. The most benefit you'll get is actually from participating and at least telling me that you're following along. I don't want to leave you behind because I'll move pretty fast. So really looking for your participation here. The next thing we're going to do is install and create our cluster. At this point, we have the binary in place. So by executing this command, we're going to give our cluster a name, whatever you prefer to give it. Just know that that name will be an environment variable shortly after this command. So whatever you prefer to name it. So I'm going to copy this command, in fact, and I'm going to create a cluster with you so you can see it in action. Okay. I already have a cluster, but it's okay. I'm going to change this and I'm going to say, I'll give my super test. So that's going to be my my cluster name, and I'm about to execute it. Hopefully you've got to this place as well. So I'm going to hit enter, and it's also going to say, oh, by the way, you need to authenticate, and I need to know who you are, and that's okay, right? So I can say, yeah, I'm this account and I want to allow the gcloud CLI to do some stuff. And now I go back to my terminal and it says, okay, what project do you want to create this cluster in? Okay. Well, I have my own project called JX Development. Ravi, is the resolution too low? Is the print too small? What is it? Also, is it just you experiencing this problem? I'm not hearing it from someone else, so I want to make sure I don't mess it up for everyone else. If I increase the font on the terminal, does that help everyone? It's impossible to see your screen on the stream. I'm not sure. It is streaming, right? It's a bit delayed, but you should be able to see it. I just increased the screen and font size, so it's probably delayed a little bit. Let me know if you can see the change. Ravi, I just increased it. Make sure you see the update. There's a slight delay in the streaming. All right, Brian, thank you. It looks good. All right. So I'm specifying in my cluster. Very good. Very good. All right, we're set. So I'm just saying, okay, now I chose the project. Now I'm going to select the West, the US West region, because I'm in the West. Victor, I increased the font size. I think you want it more. I can do that. That's exactly the command I used. I'm not sure if you're looking at my screen. But now it's humongous. Hopefully you guys can see it. All right, we're good to go. So there it is. The create cluster command is doing its thing. It pre-selects a whole bunch of stuff. It just asked me 2 questions, the project and the zone, the Google Cloud Zone, and now it's just creating it. So we're going to give it a little bit of time for that to happen. In the meantime, you should be running this command as well. If the command is done for you, please just type a single word on that and say done on the chat so that I know that whoever is actually doing this is completed and we can move forward. There is a lag, Brian. There's a lag in the streaming. It's like a 30-second lag, everyone, just so you know. So you might say something and I responded already. Just know that there's a 30-second lag. Thanks for bringing it up, Brian. All right, so my cluster is being created. I hope that it's the same command is being executed on your end. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask away on the chat, as we are just waiting for this cluster to be created. All right, excellent. And the reason we're using, to give you a little bit of background, the most important thing about JX binary creating the cluster, it actually enables RBAC. And that's a good thing because that's needed for a whole bunch of other internal stuff that goes on. So just keep that in mind. You could create a cluster using Terraform or any other method that your company uses. We're not dictating that. You can create your cluster however it is you want. It might go through some internal processes and it's automated and whatnot. It doesn't really matter to Jenkins X. Jenkins X just needs a Kubernetes cluster, period. Okay? All right, so my cluster is created. And, all right, so Josh, you just need to have the right version of kubectl and you'd be good to go. Brian, Wei, any of you, Rabi, are you good to go? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know where you are. I don't want to move too fast. Again, you can use Terraform or any other way to provision that cluster, however you prefer. And As soon as you're done with that, our next step is going to be to set the cluster name. All right, good way. Yeah, you should have the 1.16. Brian, yes, you need to specify the flag as per the instructions here to skip installation. All right, Ravi, we'll wait for you. No problem. I think that takes a little while. Not a big deal. Again, Brian, just check out the screen here. You want to pass the flag to skip the installation for sure. We're just creating or provisioning the cluster. Josh, it looks like do you have a corporate laptop? Is it? I wonder what OS are you even running? Oh, you didn't install, Josh. You didn't install the G Cloud SDK and all that stuff yet, huh? All right, thanks, Brian. Yep. So you're good to go. We'll move on quickly in a second. I want to make sure Josh is able to overcome this one thing, and then we'll move forward. Ravi, it looks like your command for creating the cluster is still running, so just shout out, give me a thumbs up, let me know once it's done. Okay, Josh. OS X Catalina. I think you should still be okay, to be honest with you. Maybe there was a prerequisite you missed. All right. And it looks like Yuri, are you okay? And Wei, are you both okay? Is your cluster done? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know where you are. You could create it, Ravi, in whatever cloud zone is closer to you, and it doesn't have to be close to you, but that's optimal. Yuri, good job. You're good to go. We'll move on shortly. All right, David, what command can I use to install Jenkins X if I have Kubernetes cluster already set up? David, hang tight. That's the next command we're going to execute. You're ahead of the game. Good job. Stay alert. We're about to go through that on the slide and the command line. Ravi, the old quota error. Victor will help you out with that in a second. Okay. Sure, Josh. Give me a second. So you want to see the install command, Josh? Is that what you're looking at? All right, cool, Wei. I noted that. Josh, what command are you looking for? I have, the first command was to simply download the binary. Did you do that already? Excellent, Ravi. Good stuff. Keep it there. You're good to go. All right. Yeah. So you just, if you're on the Mac, this is the command you want, Josh. Cesar, you're ready. Good to go. Thank you. All right. Victor will help out whoever is stuck for a minute. All right, we're good to go. Thanks, Josh. So the create cluster command is this right here, Josh. Make sure you execute that, give it a name, and then as soon as it's done, we're going to move forward to installing Jenkins X. And I think that most people are very much there, so we'll just hang tight for a second for Josh. All right, Ravi, good stuff. You're almost there. Almost there. Again, the output, ladies and gentlemen, the output of your command will be the successful creation of your cluster, and it's going to show up in the command line with the name, the location, and the version of Kubernetes that is running, right? That's all you need to know at this point. You can choose whichever, Josh, 1A, whatever feels good for you. There's no requirement on a zone, by the way. It's like whatever you pick. It doesn't matter. Again, the output will be something like you're looking at my screen, my terminal. It's going to look like that. It's like it's done. So we'll give it a couple more minutes for Josh, and then we will move into installing Jenkins X on top of Kubernetes, and we're going to use a special command called jxboot, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second, but we've got a step before that to do, so hang tight for a second. All right, Ravi is good for now. All right, excellent. All right, yep, Ravi is almost done. So what I think Ravi is actually catching up pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do is show you the next step. All right, so what I need you to do at this point, I need you to set this environment variable in your terminal, okay? So in my case, my cluster name is super test. You see that? So I'm going to export that. I have it. If you could do that, that'd be great. All right. And so now we have our environment variable with our cluster name. The next command we want is we're going to download, and I'm going to paste this command here for you on the chat. The way we install Jenkins X is we use GitHub and whatnot, and so there's a standard repository that is used as a base, okay? And what we're going to do is clone that repository locally, and we're going to cd into it. There's a special configuration file there, a YAML file that we will use to configure our cluster, okay? The cluster name, Josh, is whatever you choose. I chose my cluster to be Super Test. You can choose yours to be Josh Santos. It doesn't matter. All right. So what I'm going to do now is paste the command for you to clone that repository. Okay. It's the official repository to clone the configuration of the boot config, what we call. All right. So I'm doing that in my terminal, as you can see. So I'm gonna hit enter. Since I already have my environment variable called cluster name, it's gonna know what. Gotcha, Josh. Yeah, sorry about that. I know chat is just so damn tricky sometimes, so I apologize of any miscommunication. It's a little bit of a drawback with chat and whatnot, so good to know. All right, so at this point, everyone, I have cloned the repository. I pasted the link for you, the repo. And I'm going to I'm already in there. As you can see, if I do an ls, I am there. That's where you want to be before we execute the next step. So I will pause here, make sure everyone has cloned this repository and they're in the root of that repository in the terminal before moving forward. Okay? So I will not move forward without you. Let me know where you are though. Be verbal about things, otherwise I don't know. So if you're done, just say it, one word. It's all it takes on the chat. So we got someone called Cloud Vector. Not sure who that is, but it looks like he's also doing great. Cloud Vector, you asked the question, are we going to be installing production on separate cluster? No. The answer is no. We're using a single cluster today. Is multi-cluster supported? Maybe that's a better question. And the answer is very soon it will. So hang tight. I think we're pretty close to multi-cluster support, but that's not covered today. All right, Victor, thank you for your help. Appreciate it. Have a great night. Victor's like past midnight right now, so thanks so much for my colleague Victor to join us for a minute and help out. I appreciate you, man. All right, Ravi, you're good to go. If you're on the root on the terminal of that clone repository, you're good to go. Yuri, you're good to go. That's right, Brian. 2 lines, but with the last character, it kind of concatenates the 2 lines, so it executes both. This character here. All right, just know that. All right, Brian, you're at CD. Good stuff. Repo cloned, Josh, very good. Okay. Yeah, just make sure you have the correct kubectl, Josh. You'll be good to go. Caesar, done. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, John Dewey, GitHub Enterprise is being tested at the moment. This is just GitHub, and so if you're using GitHub Enterprise right now for today, you may experience problems which are out of the scope of the workshop. We're using just GitHub, FYI. Cloud Vector. All right, Dinesh, signed in as work account. I got it. All right. No worries. All right, Josh fixed his kubectl issue. We're about to move forward to installing Jenkins X, everyone. So give me a thumbs up. Let me know where you are, but it looks like the only problem we have right now is with Alexander. And that's like a weird error I've never seen, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what that would entail. All right, everyone, we're about to move into the next step. Okay, so we did this step. Now I need you to open your, yep, gotcha, Josh, gotcha. I need you to open your JX requirements file in the browser. Okay, so I'm going to show you how that's done on my end. And we're gonna edit it. We're just gonna look at it for a second. So, code. I have VS Code, which is the free version of Visual Studio, and the file we want is JX requirements. And I want to bring it up and show you what that looks like. So there it is. This is what our JX requirements look like, okay? Josh, to answer your question, is the JX cluster create is the same as your gcloud cluster create command? I think in the background, we use the gcloud command, just so you know. So this is why you're not tied to using the JX cluster command to create it. So it's fine. Okay, so moving forward here, we're gonna first change the cluster name in the XML or the YAML to our cluster. Okay, so I'm gonna go here and say my cluster is super test, right? That's what I have. So super test. And I'm also I'm gonna change this. The Git owner, I have a GitHub organization that I use. You can use a GitHub organization or your personal account, okay? So in that YAML file here, my GitHub organization is called Jenkins Oscar. Okay, and I want my GitHub repositories to be public. Okay, this is important right here because then whenever I create a repository in there, I want it to be available. So I'm going to say, yeah, it's available to everyone. It's public. I want to show you my GitHub organization so you get a clear idea of what I'm talking about here. So we're filling in the cluster name. We're filling in the owner name, which could be your personal GitHub account or your organization. And we're telling Jenkins that any repositories created are going to be public. And that's a true or false, okay? Now, I want to show you my organization here so that you understand what I'm talking about. This is actually a fictitious organization I created. And here are my repositories, and I have my bot account. So I have a Jenkins X bot SP Oscar account. That is the one that performs the CI/CD on the pipeline. Okay, that's what this account is. So if I go here, you can see that this account is this. It has its own profile in GitHub. You can do this all with your own personal account, however, not the best practice. I'm just giving you what you should have, okay? But you can still do it with your personal account if that's all you have today. So, not a big deal. Okay, and the next thing we want to do on line 12 is I'm going to set my cluster project. In my case, it's actually this. So I'm going to go back to Visual Studio, and in the project, I'm going to select and paste this because that's my Google project name. And yeah, my provider is GKE, as you can see there. So we're good. Okay. Let's see, some conversation here going on. Caesar, you said a cluster name. Oh, that's for Alexander. If it's private, does it support SSH auth? That's a good question, Josh. I want to say yes, because that's like super standard, and I've actually done it with private repositories, so it should work for you. That should be not a big deal. Okay, Brian, the fonts will benefit from being larger like your others. All right, Brian, I'm going to zoom in on this slide for you to see it better. So hang tight. I might be able to do it, maybe not. I apologize. I'm going to copy this and paste it on the chat so that you have it. Hopefully that helps. Like I said, I put this slide together, maybe 2 days ago, so there's a lot of work I need to do with it, but nonetheless, hoping that this helps you here. Hang on a sec. Oh. The slide is fine. It was GitHub. Okay, cool. Oh, the browser fonts. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff to be worked out. This is all just like a hack. So we'll move through it. If you got questions, that's why I'm here. And we'll get past it. All 'Cause, 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 right, Alexander. That looks good actually. So you should be at that. I want to make sure everyone is modifying their JX requirements file with the cluster name, the Git owner, and these three properties here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here because I could. And you should be able to see the three properties that we care about right now, which is this right here, the cluster name, the environment Git owner, and the Git public yes or no, as well as the project name, right? This is the project in your Google Cloud environment. That's where the cluster is. So as soon as you have these 4 properties filled in correctly, we will move on. And I'm going to monitor the chat to make sure you do. So give me a second here. Is there a way to decrease the screen resolution? So cluster project is set to GKE project or something else. When you created the cluster, Ravi, it was created in a project that you had access to and your CLI was configured with the Google Cloud. So you can go to the web console and see that, by the way. Alexander, I think you can ignore that error for now. I don't think that that's actually going to help. The commands we're executing already are accessing the cluster, and the kube config has that information, so I'm not sure what that is. We'll move forward and we'll see if you are able to actually interact with the cluster. If you are, Alexander, able to interact with the cluster, then I'm not sure what the error is. I've never seen it, but nonetheless, we'll monitor that. So, okay, assuming everyone has the YAML file with at least these 4 properties configured correctly, we're going to move on to the next step. I don't want to move on before you say, yes, let's move on. So holler at me on the chat, let me know. All right, Josh, to get that config from it's very easy. Josh, do me a favor. Go to the web console, the Google Cloud web console, and go to the Kubernetes section on the left navigation, and then look at your cluster there. You should see your cluster there. There's to the far right, there's a link that says connect to cluster, and then copy that command into your local laptop terminal. That will actually connect it, and then you should be good to go. Okay, you're good to go. All right. Ravi, you're good to go. Thank you. Wei and Yuri, let me know that you are good to go with the requirements file, 4 properties filled in, and I can move forward. I don't want to leave you behind. So give me a done or a thumbs up or whatever emoji you want to use, and then we'll move forward. All right, done with the YAML. Nice. All right. Wei, let me know where you're at. Okay, Wei, so we want to make sure that you have these 4 properties filled in your requirements YAML. Let me know if you were able to do that, because I want to make sure you do that before we move forward. Brian, the project is the project name, not the ID. It's the project name. So everyone, just so you know, I'm going to scroll up, and then you can see the information on my cluster, right? And the project name is, in my case, this. You should have gotten that output on your terminal when you created the cluster. Okay, Wei, you're good to go. Excellent. Brian, let me know once you're good to go. Josh, that's not an issue at all. You're okay. All right, it looks like we're all good to go. So I'm going to move forward here. And our next step is going to execute that command JX boot. Okay? Now, one key thing to be aware of, and you should be aware of, is that that JX boot command needs to be executed in the directory of the cloned config directory that we cloned earlier, right? So if I do a pwd, you should see I'm in that dev directory that I cloned. And if I do an lsal, the requirements file is there. We need to execute jxboot in that directory, okay? So if you are good to go, please execute it. Let me know that you are. I will execute it on my end so you can see. And if it goes to hell and it crashes, we will crash together. But at least you get to see it. So now it's asking me, do you want to boot this super test cluster that you created? Yes, I do, please. I'm going to hit enter. And now it's asking me an interesting question. Here is where we need to pay attention. Who are the approvers for the development environment repository? What is really telling me is who has rights to make cluster configuration changes, okay? I personally have my account in GitHub, so I'm going to specify that. That's the only account I need right now, okay? Your personal GitHub account can be the one that you enter here. I'm going to hit enter. The next question is, do you wish to continue without TLS? Yes, I do. I don't want to enable TLS. Please do not enable TLS for at the moment. That's more advanced. We don't want to go through that at the moment. I just want you to have this thing up and running. So just press the letter Y and say, yes, you want to continue without TLS. Let me know that you're doing that. And it's going to go through some things for me, so just let me know that you're doing that. So let me know if you've executed the jxboot command. Just give me a holler on the chat. Want to make sure that we're all doing it at the same time, hopefully. And if you got any questions around that command, let me know. But basically what we're doing is executing the command jxboot inside that dev clone directory that we cloned from GitHub. And prior to executing the jxboot, we modified those 4 properties in the JX requirements. That's all we've done thus far. So we should be good to go. Mine is executing. Yours should be executing. Again, just let me know. Okay, Brian is done. Josh is done. Wei. All right, following along. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. And Yuri, let me know if you're doing okay in the jxboot command, if you've already executed it and is running. I want to make sure we're all on the same page here. So we're going to give it a little bit of time. It takes time to run. Feel free to step away for a couple minutes, grab a coffee, or depending on your time zone, grab a beer, whatever. I'm just hanging tight till this command finishes, and then we'll move to the next step. So if you have any questions, also just shoot them on the chat. I'm happy to answer those while this executes. Josh, the answer is the docs site is where you want to see this. The documentation on the doc site is where this is at. So you should be able to replicate this. Ooh, Way. Yeah, Way, please downgrade to less than 3.0 Helm. Way to download the lower version of Helm, because we know 3 will not work. So just while we're all executing the command, please do that. That's right, Ravi. Please downgrade to version less than 3. I think you and Way have the same thing. So we got 2 people downgrading from Helm 3 to 2. We'll wait a little bit for that while my command gets executed. All right, Way, sure thing. We'll move forward, but we'll just keep an eye on what's going on with you. For now, my JX boot command is still going forward, right? It's still provisioning a whole bunch of stuff in the background. So I'm okay waiting for everyone. No big deal. And so we'll hang tight for a sec here. So to give you a little bit of insight as to what's going on in the background when JX boot command is being executed, there's a lot of CRDs, Kubernetes CRDs, cron jobs, and other things that are being executed. Actually, while this command is going on, I think you can feel free to ask away, like I said. But right after this command finishes, I'm going to show you on this fresh cluster all of the Kubernetes objects that are created after you execute JX boot. So I'm going to use this open source dashboard for Kubernetes called Octant. Not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's one of the ones that VMware folks put out as open source. It's actually pretty cool. So if you don't have it, just Google Octant GitHub or something and you'll find it. Hang on a second, Josh. We're not there just yet. Look at my screen. Hang tight, all right, and we'll get there. I don't want to get too ahead. Looks like yours is finishing up early, so I want to make sure people are following my screen, and then we'll go from there. But it looks like yours is ready ahead of us. Okay, so Octant dashboard by V. That is the dashboard I will use today after JX boot command. Okay, cool, Way. Yeah, it's a really cool dashboard. Many people, and here's the main question that's going to be answered. What the hell gets created when you deploy Jenkins X into a cluster? You're about to find out. And Octant is the way we're going to find out. Ravi, it looks like you have Helm 2 running. Excellent. Hang tight. And if you execute JX boot, please do so, because we're already running it. You should be good to go. And we'll wait for you. No worries. We're gonna, as soon as mine is done, I'm going to I'm going to fire up Octant so you can see what got created in this fresh, clean cluster, right? It's important to know what got created. You might be asked by your IT folks or your security folks or anyone, what is it that JX creates, right, on Kubernetes cluster, an existing cluster? Well, we're going to find out. No worries. Josh, yeah, mine is slow. Sorry about that, man. Yeah, I should be finishing shortly, so we'll give it a little bit of time. a lot of stuff gets created, like I said, so we'll hang tight for a second, gentlemen. Also, like I said, feel free to, if you're running this command, which usually takes a little while, feel free to take a little break and do what you got to do. Get some coffee, get a drink, get whatever, and we'll wait for you. It's no big deal, and then we'll resume in a minute or two. No problem. And Josh, no, it won't time out at all. So excellent. We're moving forward. All right. Here's a question that you will be asked when you execute JX boot, and the question is, what is the administrator username for Jenkins X? The default is admin, so I'm just gonna hit enter, and I'm gonna type a password. You can type whatever password you want. It's an open source project, Luke, but I'm going to tell you, it probably looks like a month or two, maybe more. Multi-cluster support, I don't know, man. It's kind of just like, it's not really something that I can pinpoint, you know. Okay, here's the next important thing you will run into in configuring Jenkins X. Pipeline bot get username. Now, I don't know what your setup is. I have a GitHub organization and I have a GitHub bot account. So for my experience, what I'm going to do is type in the GitHub account, the bot account name that I created, which is literally a GitHub username, okay? I created a separate username. So I'm going to type that here. And I'm going to paste it. That's my bot account name. Again, it's a GitHub user account, a real one. So I'm going to hit enter. And I gave it a fake email address. Here's the important part, however, the token. The token that is asking me for is of the GitHub account. Now, if you're using your own personal account, then that means you type in your Git username, your personal account name, and the GitHub token of your personal account, okay? So I'm going to go into my GitHub settings, and I'm going to select the settings of my account, my bot account, and I'm going to click on personal access tokens. I'm going to create a new one. And so that I can paste it here. And I'm going to say, give it a name. It's my workshop token. So one of the things that Jenkins X allows you to do is copy, well, it didn't give us that today, but give me a second. So, yep. So I'm just generating my token. Give me a second. And I'm just sending the permissions for the token. Okay. So now I can paste the token here of my bot account. And let me check the chat here, see how you're doing. Okay. Let me show you a previous token. That's a good question, Josh. Let's pause here, and I'm going to show you the permissions of a previous token I had. so that you all can have the same permissions for the bot, okay? I'm going to zoom in. Please let me know that you can see it. This is my token permissions. So this is what the permissions will look like for your GitHub bot token. You can see it's got repo, all of the check marks. It's got admin on the org, read, and then it's got write repo hook and read repo hook, because it creates a webhook eventually. And then user, it read and email, and delete repo is important. So that's right, Josh. All of these are given to the bot account of Jenkins X, which performs the CI/CD. That's right. So these are permissions for the bot account. No one will believe us. My John, you're probably right. All right, let me know that the permissions for your token are set. I've already set mine, so I'm just showing you what the permissions are in case you need to look at it. Once you have the permissions, let me know. I already entered them. Now I'm going to set the next question I get asked. The HMAC token, it's going to generate one. Do I want to press enter and use it? Yes. Do I want to configure an external Docker registry? No. So I'm going to hit enter. All right, everyone. Yeah, Josh, this is all theoretical. We are mindful about security. Shouldn't be a problem. So if you answered those questions, please give me a holler on the chat. Let me know that you are with me and that you are following along. Let me know. I don't want to get ahead of the game too much. Right now, I just answered those few questions you see at the top of the screen, and now it's doing its thing. So we're continuing with the jxboot command, right? So let me know that you've got that down and that you're executing it as well. Josh, I missed your question, but yeah, I made a specific GitHub account for my bot account, just so you know. Absolutely. So, and I did say that, so no worries. All right, Charm Museum installing, nice. Very good. So I'm in the process, as you can see. Here's a cool insight that you all might appreciate. What exactly is running on this terminal, right? Now I have this command, like this step, install Jenkins X and install this and install that. Where is that coming from? Well, I'll tell you. So when we clone that repository, that config repository, what it did is actually also created a local version, cloned that repository, which has a pipeline file, all right? A Jenkins X pipeline file that's running locally to execute all of these commands against the cluster. How cool is that? So we're basically predefining the installation of Jenkins X via a pipeline itself. That's what you're seeing now. I'll show you in a bit. In fact, I guess I could, let's see, while that's still executing, I might be able to show you this. I'll pull up another screen here. Let's see. Here, so I'm gonna go to, all right, so here's, I called it dev actually. So first thing, where did I put it? Yeah, here it is. So if I cd into that, the pipeline that's running right now, so we filled in this requirements file, but the pipeline that's running is this right here. That's what you're seeing here being executed to install Jenkins X, and it's asking you all these questions. That's pretty impressive. So that's what's going on right now. Let's see. Josh, I don't think I enabled two-factor authentication on the bot account, just so you know. So for now, just don't do it, man. I don't know what to tell you at the moment for that. All right, so we're continuing on. Let me know where you are. I want to make sure I move at the right pace. All right. Like I said, Josh, if you just on that bot account, don't put two-factor authentication. Yes, create a bot account. Okay, what we're seeing here on the screen is basically all of the resources in Kubernetes are being created, they're being spun up, and now the installation is waiting for them to be running before it says you're good to go. Yeah, man, Josh, this is what wasn't in the prereqs? All right, Yuri is waiting for the pots. Awesome. Josh, like I said, you don't have to use a bot account. You can use your personal account, but if your personal account has two-factor authentication, then yes, you will still experience this problem. So I don't have two-factor authentication on my bot account. That's all I could tell you. I don't know how to solve that personally. Luke, I don't have a time scale for that. I think you can join the office hours. We had one today at 8 a.m. Pacific time. It's every 2 weeks. So the next one will be, after next week on Thursday. I recommend you join it, and you can ask that question there because we are working on it. But again, open source projects depend on your contributions as well. So just keep that in mind. Okay, looks like we're still finishing up the resources here. So as soon as we have Jenkins X installed, let me know, everyone, if you'd like to take a little short break, like a 10-minute break or something. I'm happy to do that. And there it is. There's the success message that you want to see when installing Jenkins X. It's all good. You want to see this right here, this word right here. It's all good. Okay. So let me know where you are. I'm going to pause here. I don't want to do anything else before you tell me that you've already gotten that good message. So holler at me on the chat, let me know. Also, let me know if you want to take a little 5-10 minute break. If not, I can continue. That's no big deal. It's up to you. So. But I'll wait to hear from you. All right, Yuri is done. Excellent. Yuri is on top of it. We've got a cluster up and running. Yuri's got it up and running. All right, Josh, we'll hold on tight for you. We're not going anywhere. We'll take a little break while you do that. I'll be here though, so I can answer any questions. I won't move forward to the next big step. So this is a good stopping point for everyone to realize, okay, we've got an installation done. So all good. All right, Ryan, we will take a 10-minute break. So it's 10:33. Let's say at 3:43 p.m. my time, right? So just 10 minutes after, we'll officially be back. For now, whoever sticks around, you can feel free to ask me questions on the chat. I will not move forward with the next steps, just so you know, so we don't leave anyone behind. But if you have any questions, shoot them on the chat. I'm happy to respond to them. All right, Ravi, you're still downgrading to Helm 2. All right, it looks like it's successful. Oh, it was not successful. Okay, you're stuck fixing that. We'll wait for you. You got 10 minutes, Ravi, so get on it. Let's see. Everyone else, I see, let's see, about 20 people on the event. Let me know where you are in the process. All right, Brian's making a second GitHub account. The permissions for the token, Brian, I'm going to show you on my screen. Hang tight. I'm about to show you what that looks like. I got a lot of windows open, so bear with me. Hang on. I think we want to do... So I'm looking at my bot account, and as you can see, I have several tokens under personal tokens. If you look at the... actually, that's not the right browser window. Sorry, Brian, hang tight. Here it is. All right, Wade, good stuff. We'll wait for you, no big deal. Brian, let me know if you can see those permissions. That's what you need right now on that bot account, okay? Repo, all of them. Admin, right hook and read hooks. Read admin, read user email, and user delete repo. That's it. So Brian, confirm that you saw this and we're good to go. Let's see, Joshua. Trying to push large files. Joshua, there's no such thing as large files in this repo, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. Majan, you're using Spinnaker. Is there a need for Jenkins X, or they are kind of the same thing? Well, they're both CI/CD, so I can't really comment on it. You can either use one or the other. They do similar things. All right, Brian, I'm gonna minimize my window, my font, so you can see the whole permissions. That's it. Those are all the permissions, Brian. Let me know if you can see that. All right, Joshua. You can ask, Brian. The thing is that the CI/CD bot actually deletes accounts that or deletes repos that are not being used. So let's say we delete an application, right, via the JX delete application command. the bot account is the one that's used, so that is why it needs that. Let's see. Josh, bot created, token created. All right, no problem. We've got time, Josh. Good stuff. You're making progress there. And Majan, all right, yep. Glad you realized you can use either one. It's not one or the other. It's really up to what your organization is using. So bear that in mind. It's whatever you all pick, essentially. Okay, going back here. So again, the screen you want to see when your JX boot command is successful is what you'll see in my terminal shortly. I want to make sure all of you are on that same page. Brian, the first token that it asks you for, it will say, what is the bot username and what is the bot token? So we're talking about the bot account. So whenever it asks you for a bot username or a bot token, you got to go on the browser and generate a token for the bot account. Xander asked a good question. Can I change the token after boot completes successfully? You can change the token. I found it to be problematic though, Xander, just so you know. And that's just from experience, but it is supported, is what I'm saying. All right, Ravi is running JX boot. Very nice. So we'll wait for him. Got about 3-4 minutes before we get back at it, so that gives enough time for people to get caught up. And just to recap, at this point I have created a cluster in GKE, and now I have Jenkins X installed. I'm getting a success message, as you can see on the screen. So we're gonna move on to doing some other cool stuff now, actually using Jenkins X in a minute. So I give Xander, that's okay. I mean, you can always just, for the purpose of this lab, you can give it whatever permissions you want, as long as it's the minimum permissions. If you gave it more permissions, that's fine too, but for the purpose of the lab, it will work. So you should have no problems. Josh is correct. The bot account should not have two-factor authentication, everyone, just so you know. Andreas, please disable two-factor authentication on your bot account or personal account if that's what you're using for as the bot account. All right, Josh is running JX boot. Very well. So we'll wait for a couple of people and then we'll get started. I will be right back. I'm gonna pause this for a couple of minutes. I will be right back, and we'll get started with some more stuff. The more interesting stuff. I think you'll like what you see. So bear with me. I'll be back. Just putting here. It's okay. It's okay. Sorry. Got my dog in the background. Sorry about that. Be right back. So going back to the GitHub scenario, you can have an organization like I showed you, and then have all of your repos there in that organization. That's what I have anyway, and that's probably a good idea. So I wanna show you what that looks like, because it's let's see. Give me a second here. So if we go into my organization, you can see I have a fictitious one called Jenkins X Corp. I've got ultimately my Jenkins X environment repositories will be there. In fact, if I refresh this, you see 3 new repositories which are part of my Jenkins installation that I just did. So you should be seeing that in your organization. Rabi says, what was the pipeline bot Git username? Well, that's whatever you choose, Ravi. If you have an actual account in GitHub dedicated as a bot account, that's what you need to use. If you created a bot account, that's the one you want to use, Ravi. Brian, what does that mean? I've never seen that specific error. What do you mean failed to create client, JX client? All right, so Andreas, to answer your question, and everyone, if you made a mistake in JX boot process and executing JX boot, and you wanted to set up a Git bot account and you didn't have it and now you do, I need you to do this, okay? Execute this on your machine. We're gonna remove that folder which contains all of the configuration of Jenkins X. Once you do that, then you can execute JX boot again, then execute JX boot again. You should be able to enter the other, the new bot account and all that stuff in the token. Brian, yeah, I see that's what you're getting. I just don't know. Was that after executing JX boot or what? All right. So just a quick check, everyone. I want to know how far we are because I'm ready to move into actually using the cluster, using Jenkins X, but I don't want to move without you being ready. Again, give me a thumbs up and let me know because I need to gauge who's ready out of the 20 people that we have on this session today. No, Andreas, you do not need to change the requirements YAML file. You just need to remove that directory I pointed to you to and then run JX boot. All right, yeah, Josh and Andreas, if you're still booting, it's okay. We can hang tight. And Josh, it looks like you have to delete your JX directory. That's right. That's what I recommend to do if you want to do another clean installation to be able to enter the bot account and the credentials, the token. So we'll hang tight for a couple of people and then we'll move into our next step. So let's see, going back to the presentation here, we did the install, so we're gonna very soon start with creating a quick start, but we won't do that just yet. We'll wait for some folks. I want to make sure all 20 of us, if possible, are ready to go, so I'm not going to get too much ahead of you. So it looks like just 2 people are finishing up boot. As soon as you do, we'll get going. Ginge, you want to stay out there? You want to come in? Come on. Okay. All right, Brian, Caesar is good to go. Let's see. Josh, to answer your question, is it fine having the bot user as the reviewer in the requirements? Yeah, you can do that. This is not a real life setup. So yeah, feel free to do that. It's not how you're going to ultimately do it, however. I'm showing you how you're ultimately going to do it, which is have a bot account dedicated, have a GitHub organization, and then add the approvers. In my case, as you saw earlier, was my SharePoint Oscar GitHub account. 3 separate things you need there. So Cesar is good to go. Brian, so after install the auth config command in the pipeline, that's when you got that error message. I'm not sure what that is, Brian. Joshua, it looks like you're ahead of the game, so you want to know what's next. The next step is we're going to play with QuickStarts, Joshua. So on your screen, you should see the JX Create QuickStart, and here's the trick. There's a flag says -- git public. The reason is because if you are using a GitHub organization in the free tier of GitHub, then that means that you don't have private accounts, which means we need to pass this flag. So that's the next step, Joshua. Josh, it still doesn't prompt you for this. All right, the admin username and password, Josh, is fine. What I'm concerned about is the token for the bot. No, you're good to go, Josh. You're ahead of the game. Okay. All right. So we're just waiting for Josh right now to finish up, and then we'll move forward with our next step, which is exploring quick starts. And so bear with us. We're almost there. As you know, doing this remotely, doing this with multiple people and whatnot, just using chat, it becomes a little challenging, but it's okay. We can handle it. So let's see. Yeah, Josh, I think, man, I think the last time I ran into that, I want to say I just created a new cluster, Josh, deleted that cluster from the GCP, and then deleted that .jx folder, and deleted that clone dev directory. Like I literally started from scratch, man. So you can do that, and we'll move forward. But I think that's what you might need to do. Ravi is finishing up the boot, so you have time, Josh, if you want to do that. I don't have the solution for you in terms of how to force it to ask you for that token. It's quicker to just create a new cluster and then execute JX boot against this new cluster, you know. So feel free to delete the one you got. There is another place. I'm not aware of where it is, to be honest with you. So I don't want to try to, you know, troubleshoot that right now while we got other folks waiting. So, okay, so looks like we have one person doing the boot. Almost done with that. Ravi, we're gonna start the quick starts. We'll pause a little bit for you, but it looks like everyone else might be ready. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. Quick starts are, what I like to say is they're multi-language templates for applications that are built in. So if you have a Node.js application, if you have a PHP application, if you have a Go application, we have templates for that. You do not need to create your own application in order to quickly experiment with Jenkins X. So right now what we're going to do is create a quick start, an application based on a quick start, so you can see it in action. You don't have to write any code, right? All right, let me just see here. All right, so Ravi is good to go. Andres ran into the same issue as Josh. It looks like Josh is saying just edit the environment parameters in the repo, the dev repo. Okay, cool. We'll wait for a minute here, and then we'll start creating our quick start. So you can prep your terminal. What we want to do is execute the following command. So I'm going to clear my screen here, and we're going to execute that. Now, the thing is, like, I have a personal place to put all of these repos, so I'm going to change directory to where all my repositories are, which is here. So it is there that I'm going to execute this command, create quick start. So let me know when you get to that point and you're ready to execute the quick start command. All right, give me a holler on the chat. Let me know you're ready to go. I've got 20 people here on the session as of now. If you're good to go, please tell me. Otherwise, I won't know to move forward. We're about to create a quick start based out of some template. We'll pick it out. It's a wizard, so you'll see it in action shortly. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And what follows is going to be a series of questions. The first one is, what quick start do you want to use? And so we have several. I like to pick out my favorite, which is this one. This is one that I created myself just because it has a nice front end and it works, right? So I'm going to pick that one out. And it's a Node.js application, by the way. And here's where it gets interesting. Remember how we set up a bot account and we also gave the token for our personal GitHub account? This is why you're seeing that here on the Git username. It's asking me, Oscar, what account do you want to use to import this repository? Now, this is actually quite crucial because here's the thing. If you have a GitHub organization and that GitHub organization has both of these accounts, in my case, with proper rights in that GitHub org, then I'm fine. But if you don't, what's going to happen is it's going to fail. So the question is, what do you enter? I don't know if you created a GitHub org, okay? If you did, then and you gave your personal GitHub account access to it, administrative access or whatever, then you should pick your own account. That's what I'm doing. Okay? I'm not gonna pick the CI/CD bot account to import this. That's not what I would do. All right? So I'm gonna hit enter. And now it's saying, hey, so what organization? I see your account, SharePoint Oscar, has access to multiple organizations. Where do you want to create the Jenkins X repositories? Okay, well, in my case, it's going to be the Jenkins X Oscar GitHub org that I showed you all. Okay, that's where I'm going with this. So I'm gonna hit enter, and I'm gonna give my repository a name. I'm just gonna be like widgets web, and it's gonna create the repository in the organization. It's also going to ask me if I want to initialize it, which I do, and I want a commit message that says initial import, and it's gonna create it. All right, so if you're following with me, you should be executing that command and answering the questions as I did. Oh, Josh. Josh, did you install a previous version of the binary, I wonder? Did you actually go to the docs.cloudbees site and install or download the binary that we specified? Let me know, because I've seen this in the other version of the binary. Okay, so we faced an issue, and this is actually a bug, everyone. I would like to highlight this bug here. Yuri, you're done. Excellent. You might have not experienced this bug. I'm not sure, Yuri. But you can see the warning message at the bottom. It says, hang on, this is Josh. Yeah, you got the right version, Josh. I'm not sure why it's giving you that error, though. Yeah, it matches. That's the right version I have, Josh. We all downloaded the same one. Ravi's QuickStart is done. Nice. Real quick, I created the QuickStart, but it failed to, as you can see, it failed to create it. That's not true. It created it, right? So I called it widgets web. Now, if I go into my organization, just to show you, and I refresh this, there's the widgets web. So it created it, right? It's there. However, it's not deployed. So if I do JX get applications, nothing's deployed. That's because it had this problem, and this is actually a bug, everyone, okay? Just so you know. So the way I'm gonna work around this for this particular scenario in creating a quick start is I'm gonna go into that widgets web directory, open it up in Visual Studio Code, and what I'm gonna do is basically from here I'm going to create a simple change. So this is where the preview environment and all that stuff we've been talking about is going to work. So I'm going to say, instead of hello, howdy. All right. Now the thing is, I'm going to do a feature branch. So check out there. And so now if I look at git status, I'm going to go ahead and check this in. and I'm going to push my change into my feature branch, okay? So it didn't import it because of a bug, but we're going to force it to import it by simply making a change in that repo and then going into that repository via the browser. Now, notice how now I have this typical message, right? Hey, you made a change. Would you like to do a pull request? Yeah, I want to do a pull request. So I'm going to say change homepage, create pull request. And now this is where the ChatOps capabilities of Jenkins X kick in. So it's going to say, hopefully it does. Let me see if it actually gave it a webhook. Give me a second. It didn't actually create a webhook for it, so this is not going to trigger it actually. All right. Okay, as expected, we have some issues with this. So what I'm going to do is improvise with you, and instead of doing the quick start now, the quick start might work for some of you. It's not working for me. So what I'm going to do is actually import an existing application. All right. So the quick start portion of the workshop, I will leave it out for now. I don't want to sit here and try to troubleshoot it. So what I'm going to do is move on to the next step in our workshop, which would be this, right? Many times you already have an existing application and you want to import it into Jenkins X. So how do you do that? And that's what I'm about to show you, okay? So let me make sure Josh looks like still dealing with the HMAC token issue. So we'll move forward while you're doing that, Josh. We'll skip the quick start portion of it. Like I said, I think there's a bug that needs to be resolved. I got to get back to the internal team on that. The next thing we want to do is import an existing app. Now, an existing app is anything you have on GitHub. In this case, this is the application I have on GitHub, so I want to import it, okay? And so what I'm going to do is execute that command here, and I'm going to, I'm just going to clean up after myself because I don't like having that stuff in there. And now I'm going to import this application, the ski app, okay? It's directly grabbing it from my organization and it's in the GitHub repository, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And it's going to say, hey, what account do you want to use to import it? I'm going to say my SharePoint Oscar account. So now it's detecting the language that my app is written on, and it's saying, okay, I'm going to create a webhook for the ski app so that Jenkins X can interact with it via CI/CD. So it created that, and now I imported it successfully. I want to take a look at what's going on because a pipeline was triggered right now when I imported it. So let's take a look at what's happening. And so right now what's happening is because I imported an existing application, now it triggered a pipeline to import it and deploy it to our staging environment, which was created when we created the cluster and installed Jenkins X, just so you know. And I'll show you how to determine what environments are available to you in a second. So let's let this run first. And let's check in with Josh, see what's happening. back and see if that fixes it. Okay. Josh is experiencing some issues recloning stuff. All right, and running JX boot. Okay, cool, Josh. So while you're doing that, all we're doing, Josh, is really just importing an existing application now. As you can see, the pipeline is running. Nothing special here. We just pointed to the application in the GitHub URL, and Jenkins X is taking it in and deploying it through CI/CD right now, right? So that's what's happening in the background. All right, so while this is going on, a couple of things to highlight. This sample application is a Node.js application. So one thing that you will see is that the standard things or tasks that happen in a Node.js application are automatically being executed in this pipeline. And I didn't write a custom pipeline. It's doing it for me. So that's one thing you should keep in mind, right? Like, we do this automatically for you. Okay, Josh, the GitHub URL or the format is this here. If you want to import that, I'll copy it into the chat here for you and paste it. There you go. So you can follow that and just import that. So it's being imported right now into my environment, as you can see. And the cool thing, like I said, I didn't write any pipeline code, and it's actually doing a full Node.js application, npm install and test, and then it's going to do a pull request on the staging environment. And again, the Jenkins X bot is saying, oh, I have a new application in the staging environment, which is 0042, and by default it doesn't approve it because it needs approval, right? So it's gonna wait there, and the promotion or the app, it's still, this task is running, it's still, the pipeline is running. That's why you see this running still. When I try to import, error remain and skip. Destination. Oh, wait. Okay. Where are you trying to import it? Because if you're trying to import it into my organization, then I guess you will not be able to. You need to clone the application, guys, and then if you clone that application locally and then change directory in the root of that application and then execute JX import in the root of that local directory, then you should be okay. The reason is that that's in my organization. Yeah, you can fork it, Josh, or you can just clone it locally and CD into it and then execute JX import. It's up to you. So let me know, Ravi and Josh, once you've cloned it locally and CD into that directory and just hit JX space import. That is the same thing as what I did as I demoed. So there's no difference. No URL flag, Joshua. It's just like JX space import because you're in that directory and it actually looks at it. So that's great. All right. right, so this pipeline, while you all are doing that, my pipeline finished, and pretty much I should be seeing in the, you see how it merged into the staging environment. So the requirements file in my staging environment now contains my application as a requirement. So the staging environment will say, hey, that version is required, so I'm going to go ahead and deploy it into staging. So the question is it deployed? Well, let's find out, right? So to get all applications deployed in Jenkins X, you want to execute the following command. Oh, look at that. It's deployed. So you can see here, if I click on that, there's the app running, okay? All right, let's see on the chat here. Shall we fork the repo? Joshua, no URL flag. JX, just JX import, right. Joshua gets the same error. All right, do this. If you clone the repo, you should be able to hit JX space import. I don't know, Joshua, why you're getting that error. The charts folder should not be there. It's a clean application that should be imported into your Jenkins X. So, has anyone successfully imported the app? Anyone, just raise your hand, give me a shout out on the chat, let me know. I'll wait for a second here, but you can see the app deployed already. So that's what we want to see. And this is the command that you use to get the current applications deployed. All right, so the error is Joshua, can you make sure there's no charts directory in that app? Just make sure and delete it if it is before importing it. All right, Josh, your boot is still, no worries. All right, so everyone's getting the same error with the ski app. Let's see. That's interesting. You should be able to import. Do you have, I guess, here's the thing. I guess you can import any application that's Dockerized. If you have one, you can point to it. That would be the way to go. But if you forked the ski app, that repository should be okay. Although, let's see, give me a second. Well, now the charts is there. So if you fork it, you need to remove the charts directory, by the way. Yeah, just fork it. In fact, that's probably the best practice, guys, by the way. Just fork that ski app and then use the URL on the JX import command. So going back to the import command, right? You want to, instead of my URL, instead of my URL, you want to put your fork URL here. Okay? So once you fork it, do that and you should be good. Yep. Just fork it. I guess I should have said that from the beginning. Fork the ski app. Then use the fork URL to import. AX import URL equals fork URL. So do that. I'll wait for a minute and then we can move past this, but that right there shows you how to import an existing application. And the end result will be that your ski app is deployed, so you can see it on the screen there. And that's where we want to get to. No, it's not a bug. It is not a bug, Josh. I am just reusing an app. The fork without chart directory will work. All right, so it looks like Ravi completed the import without forking it. That's interesting. It is. The README, Josh, if you look at the README on that ski app, like it does, I have a process where after demos, I reset it so that the charts directory is deleted and the pipeline file and all that stuff. So that's why. But you might have forked the version that I imported just now, which has the charts, and hence the problem. That's all, because I did it first. But ideally, you import the ski app without the charts. No, it does not mean they have to delete that charts directory. Once you fork it and you import it, that chart directory can still be in there, and you should still be able to import the application. But Yuri claims and says that forked without a charts folder worked for him, which was the original goal for us. So he got it exactly the way we want it. JX boot is requesting password, Josh. What does it tell you? What the prompt? Does it say anything? What's the exact wording? I haven't seen that. Maybe it's requesting the password for the bot account. If that's what you're using, Josh, then just type that in. All right, so let's see. Yeah, Joshua, just for now, delete the charts folder, delete the Jenkins X.YAML and the scaffold.YAML folders, save that, push it to your master on your fork, and then you can do the import command. I'm not quite sure why it needs the password if there's a token. I'm not. The setup asks you for a token for the bot account, and it also asks you for a token of your personal account if you're using two separate accounts. So I'm not sure. Okay, Joshua, you're golden. So we all should have, at this point, a running existing application in Jenkins X. And we would see it on the browser. You can see, if you look at the command, JX get applications, you can see the version of it. You can see how many pods are running, and you see the URL of it. That's what we want to see, all right? Our last step today for this workshop is going to be to promote this into a production environment. Now, before I do that, you ask, well, what environments do we have, right? The way to figure that out is if I clear this and I say JX get env, that will tell me what environments I have available in Jenkins X that were automatically set up. All right, we'll hang tight, Josh. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened either. So anyway, the environments that are created automatically for you when you install Jenkins X are dev, staging, and production, as you can see. Each one with its corresponding GitHub URL. And you can click on that and go to it whenever you want. The Jenkins X uses GitOps, so any changes are via a PR on any repository, okay? So our next step is going to be to promote this application, okay? Our last step here is if I say JX get applications, I have an application in my staging environment, but what if I'm ready to promote it to production, right? Let's do that. So I'm going to say JX promote and if you do help, it will tell you a whole bunch of things. What I want to do is basically give it the name of the app. So in this case, I'm going to say the app to promote, and I'm going to select the version to promote as well as the environment. So three things I need to enter, right? So if I do clear and I just do get applications again, just to have it, I'm going to say JX promote app is going to be ski app, and version is going to be 0.0.42, and environment is going to be production. Okay, that's what we're going to see. So this is how you promote an application from one environment to the next. You tell it what version you want to promote, and it will work. Oh, Josh, congratulations. Boot is finished. Excellent. So here we are. We're on the command. All right, so Josh is importing an existing app. That's great. We'll let that happen. In the meantime, we're promoting the app that we imported, which went into staging, and now we're ready to put it into production. So this is it right here. All right, I'm gonna hit enter. It's gonna do its thing. It's gonna give me some warnings, but it doesn't really matter. And it's going to push this application version, which is the Helm chart, specific version. It's gonna grab it from Chart Museum and say, I wanna drop this into production. And that's what's going on right now in the background. So please execute that command. Let me know what's going on the chat. Let me know that you got it running or not. Tell me, talk to me, let me know what's happening on your end. But on mine, it's promoting it right now, so you're seeing it in real time. And so what it's doing is you can see it's doing a pull request in the production environment repo, and it's saying it's going to ultimately modify the environment requirements YAML to say, hey, by the way, there's an app that's required in this environment, and this is the version, so please add it, and now the resources in Kubernetes will get deployed as well. Yep, Josh, it has to be forked. Yep, and use your fork as the import parameter. Okay, good. While you're doing that, Josh, we're doing the promotion of what we just imported into production. So that's our last step in this workshop, ladies and gentlemen. be aware that that is the last step of the workshop. If you get this far, I have Jenkins X socks. I have a pair of those, and I have stickers to give away to the person that actually completes this. And you have to somehow show me that you completed it via some method, because you can't share it on this live stream. So I'm looking for validation that you did it. If you did it, I will send you a pair of socks, Jenkins X, and stickers. So if you didn't, then you don't get them. Okay, so here it is. It looks like it merged. So one of the things I'd like to do is say JX get applications, and now it hasn't really shown me when it deploys the app into production. It's going to show me the production URL is not there yet, as you can see. So one of the things I can do is follow along and see what's happening by clicking on the production PR. Now you can see the PR, it was merged. So that means pretty soon I should see the resources in Jenkins X being deployed. So if I keep monitoring this, there it is. All right. My production URL is right there. Now there's no pods, so it's not going to work right now. I have to wait until, oh, there it is. The pods are up. I can click on production, and there it is. We're now in production, okay? And that right there concludes the tasks for this workshop. What's the promote command? All right, Josh, I'm gonna bring up that command again for you. It's right here, Josh. I'm gonna copy it. Depending on the version you have, you might need to change it, Josh. Just be aware. All right, Ravi, your pipeline failed before production. Ravi, here's the thing. Remember what I said in the GitHub organization, your bot account is a member and your personal GitHub account is also a member. The bot account, when you set up Jenkins X, it automatically gets invited to the org or that repo that you imported, so it can act as the pipeline execution engine, right, or the executor. So something went wrong on your end that it didn't happen, is my feeling. But like I said, the end result, what everyone should be seeing now, is actually the production URL, which you see here. That's what you should be seeing on your screen as the last step of the workshop. So with that, I want to thank all of you for joining this live event, and I want to reward you accordingly. If you can show me, email me at, here, I'm going to send you an email. And what I'd like, if you can send me a screenshot of your command line with your applications running on Jenkins X, you will get a pair of Jenkins X socks and stickers, okay? If you want to do that, that's fine. If you don't want to participate, that's fine too. That's just an incentive. So feel free to email me a screenshot of that. If you get it, then I'd love to send you some information, or the socks and the stickers. So do reply with an address that I can send you that to. Any other questions before we conclude? Anyone? All right, so that concludes our session today. I want to thank you for joining. I hope you had fun. I think it was probably not enough time. We could have done some more troubleshooting. There's always going to be issues, but I hope you enjoyed it, and send me an email with feedback. And if you want the Jenkins X softs, which are right here, I'm happy to send you those, as well as the stickers, right? So this is the stickers. Happy to send you some of this swag. Let me know. All right. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys soon. We'll just chat. Let me know what's up on Twitter, or if you want to send me a note via email, that's fine as well. All right. Thanks again, everyone, and hope you enjoyed it. All right. Bye.